Howdy, whole heads, Kurt Money here, and on the Mind Grapes today is the unrecognized genius of Adam West, the most underrated comedic actor of all time, and my favorite Batman to ever don the cape. This is Cape Waves. These past few weeks I've had a blast posting shorts from the 60s Batman TV show, and looking at the comments, a lot of y'all are enjoying it too, but for wildly different reasons. Specifically, the performance of Adam West. To some, he's an embarrassment to the craft of acting, while to others, he is one of the best to ever do it. And I'm proud to say that I fall in the latter category. I think Adam West knew exactly what he was doing, and he was doing it good.
What a dastardly, twisted plot.
Now, yes, it was a show for children, which is a lot of times the defense that comes up when people are like, my God, how is this so campy and cheesy and meh, meh, meh. That's true. It was for children. But even then, for adults watching it, it was hilarious. I think that's why it works so well all these years later. It's a comedy, and he was in on the joke, no doubt. But he is playing it absolutely straight. To this Batman, this is deadly serious business, okay? But trust, when Adam West was reading the script for that day's pages that they're about to shoot, dude was cracking up, okay? He knew how absurd it was. And there's proof of that in his excellent book, which I got on eBay for super cheap, and you should too. It's called Back to the Batcave. It's super dope, and at the end, he kind of breaks down every episode with deets on it and like a commentary on it if there's something cool about it. But there's a ton of gold info in here. And it's also fascinating because he wrote that book in '94, years before his resurgence as a certain mayor, which we'll talk about later.
How do you know my language?
But the Adam West writing this book is very much reflecting on his career and resigned to the fact, and he even says it, that he was married to the cape. For better or worse, he's married to the cape. Some of you out there might be saying, nah, he didn't know it. He wasn't in on the joke. Whatever he says in there is just revisionist history to fit his own story. But I present to you this passage from the book where he's talking about how he's up for the role of Batman. He doesn't have it yet, but he's in the office and he's reading the script for the first step, High Diddle Riddle. And already instantly he's cracking up. And like the guy who's with him, the producer or his agent or whoever, is like, what's so funny? Like they're mortified. And he goes, what are you talking about? This thing's hilarious. Like he got it from the jump. And the scene he was talking about was when Batman goes into a restaurant looking for somebody and they try and seat him. And he's like, nah, it's okay. I'll wait at the bar. Okay. I don't want to draw attention to myself.
Ringside table, Batman?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
Adam West knew it was hilarious then because dude is a grown man in a costume, let alone the Cape Crusader, Batman, the most famous man in Gotham. Everybody freaking knows who he is. Well, with the exception of Dean Gerber.
Hello, Dean Gerber. This is Batman. Batman. Batman.
So West was definitely in on the joke, and I think you could argue he's almost too in on the joke because he's got so many people convinced that he was just a hack. That is not true at all. Dude was not a hack, okay? That's all skill, baby. How else do you sell the idea that a porpoise sacrificed its life so that you and Robin can go save the day?
It was noble of that animal to hurl himself into the path of that final torpedo. He gave his life for ours.
That was in the movie. Also great. And I truly believe that Adam West was destined to play the role of Batman. I don't think anybody else could have done it then or now. Case in point, George Clooney. He's in Batman and Robin, and the whole vibe of that one was it's supposed to be like the old TV show. Like Schumacher wanted the Dutch angles and the bright sets and have the fun vibe of Batman 66, but when it comes to George Clooney delivering those lines with a straight face, we're not buying it, all right? He can't deliver the cheese.
This is why Superman works alone.
And that's an Oscar winner we're talking about. He can't even come close. Clooney has a sense of humor about this now, and like he's always making fun of the bat nipples. And all the Batmen? They all complain about how you can't turn your head in the cowl and stuff. But I still think Adam West did the most with the least. Dude had eyebrows drawn on his mask, okay? Eyebrows. Can you imagine any of the other Batmans with eyebrows?
No.
Plus, they all got to hide behind the bulk of the costume, right? Not Adam West. He was in like skin-tight gray fabric and like silk undies under these hot stage lights, sweating his ass off. And he definitely was sweating too, because in the book he talks about how they had to have somebody nearby for in-between takes with a blow dryer to like dry out his pit stains. I mean, that I get and I can relate to, dude. Absolutely. You couldn't see him on TV back in the 60s, but you can bet on the Blu-ray set, which I got right there, you can absolutely see the dried pit stains. It's funny. And speaking of all the Batmans that followed him, he does talk about in the book how he's bummed that he didn't get to reprise his role in Tim Burton's 89 Batman. And he has a good point where he's like, Frank Miller's Year One was all the rage. He's an older Batman. He's right there. I don't think it would have worked in 89 Batman. And he's like, oh, it would have been so much fun to see my Batman versus Nicholson's Joker. I don't know. I think Adam West belongs in the 60s Batman and Keaton belonged in the 89 Batman. Now, look, I'm not the first person to say that Adam West rules, okay? I'm just arguing that there's not enough people saying it, but people have known it. Like, for instance, when they made the 1986 spoof cop TV show called The Last Precinct, they knew how great he was because they cast him as the captain on that show. The show was a stinker, but Adam West was good.
Kilmer has no place in a squad room, sir. This isn't a squad room, it's a compost heap.
And 5 years later, you can bet Conan O'Brien knew how great Adam West was when he wrote a pilot around him called Lookwell, where West plays like a has-been actor who solves crimes, or thinks that he solves crimes. You watch it on YouTube today, and you should, because it's very, very funny. I mean, it's laugh out loud funny.
Look, I didn't want to bring this up, but that blinker makes a click-click sound. It's supposed to, sir.
It didn't work for audiences in 1991, but the gag of that show has been used so often since. I mean, just recently, think of Henry Winkler in Barry.
All right, let's get to work, actors. I got 3 words for you. Glengarry. Glenn. Ross.
Just like Lookwell, he's got an acting class, and he's got all his minions surround him at a round table, like giving him pro tips and stuff. That's very Lookwell.
Police are obviously baffled, but they're too proud to ask for my help.
And of course, Steve Martin on Only Murders, his Brazos is very Lookwell.
I'm Brazos.
Oh, shit. So it was just, it was ahead of its time.
TV's Brannigan.
Bannigan. Hugh O'Brien was Brannigan.
Who's Hugh O'Brien?
Exactly.
It was just years after that, in 94, when he wrote this book. And while I applaud him recognizing that he's married to the Cape, as he says, it's fun to see him in there. There's a part where he's talking about Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin, and who was awesome. Penguin's hilarious. Might be my favorite. When he, waddles. Anytime he walks around, he's waddling. Love it.
What's the matter, Commissioner? Your famous hotline out of order?
Penguin, don't touch that phone! Yes, Commissioner.
Quack, quack. I'm on the track.
Penguin.
But he talks about how great it was to see a whole new generation of kids discover Burgess Meredith, because he was a dude who had been acting for decades. And now here he is, everybody loves him with the Penguin. And then he says, and it was even crazier because 10 years later it happened again with the Rocky films.
I'm too old to waste my time trying to train a no-good loser like you bum!
And it's fun to read this book knowing that in 94, he didn't know that he was about to get Family Guy. Like 5 years later, he would have that exact same thing happen to him. A whole new generation of kids discovered him. Hell, I think I probably knew him as Mayor Adam West before I knew him as Batman. And that's also very clear in the comments. A lot of Family Guy shout-outs.
Mayor West?
Well, well, Mr. Toilet. I thought you were in the Hamptons.
So props to Seth MacFarlane for giving him that role and for letting his character name be Adam West. I think that was key, and I think it works. So Seth MacFarlane definitely knew what Adam West had, and he delivered it again for Family Guy. I mean, that perfect delivery of his. Like, Adam West is just such a singular voice for this type of character. No one's done it like him since, and I'm not sure anybody will. It gave the guy a whole new chapter in Hollywood, like towards the end of his career. And while it didn't get him on the cover of magazines like Batman did, they had him jumping on a trampoline for this. He wasn't happy about it. And neither was Burt Ward because he wasn't in it. No Robin. Anyway, Family Guy didn't get him on the cover of magazines, but it definitely lasted longer than Batman did. I mean, I think he voiced that character up until his death in 2017. That's almost 20 years of that. So that's awesome.
Hey, listen to this.
Do I sound like I'm on old-time radio?
So, I mean, in conclusion, Adam West rules. And if you don't like him, unfortunately, you're wrong. Sorry about it. He's my favorite Batman, no matter how you spell it. Spread the word.
B-A...
And actually, I forgot to mention that 86 TV show that he was on, Last Precinct. One of his co-stars was a young Rick Dukeman, who you might recognize from, you guessed it, The Burbs. He played Art.
It's going to be a big week for the Bachelor kid.
Here he is playing like a doofy cop on that show.
I would do anything.
And like it?
And like it.
So anyway, boom. So I think on that note, I mean, of course, before you go to bed tonight, recognize Two-Bit Boat, that The Burbs is the best of all time. But in honor of Adam West in this episode, first do the Two-Bit Boat business. But then recognize a Whip Boat, and that is Adam West is the best Batman of all time. Two-Bit Boat, a Whip Boat. Boom.